Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to the University of Richmond's new Spider Summer series. Today we will be talking about self-registration and what that process looks like for you. And we'll just take a minute to let everyone join us from the waiting room. Alrighty, as people continue to enter, I'll take a moment to welcome and thank our amazing presenters who are with us today to help us navigate this process. Joining us today, we have Kristen Ball and Erica Jackson from the Office of the Registrar, and then we have Andrea Vest from the Academic Advising Resource Center, who's going to kick us off with a self-registration demonstration. I'll pass it over to you, Andrea.
Thanks, Marianne. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Wanted to take a quick moment to talk about where we've been. So the pre-registration phase one of our summer registration cycle, ended July 17th. So just a couple of weeks ago, your preference forms were due. And if they were done properly, and if you provided the registrar with plenty of options, you were pre-registered for a full schedule. You should be able to today log into BannerWeb and view that fall schedule. You can find it on your profile. You can also see it in your View Registration tab, or you can see your classes listed in Grad Tracker, though you won't be able to see the schedule necessarily. You can see your classes populated in Grad Tracker. That brings us to phase two, which we call self-registration. This begins August 10th, so next Monday, promptly at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. If you have changes that you'd like to make, or if you do not have a full schedule and you need to add a unit or two, this is the time to take care of that. However, this is where I would like to say, if you are generally satisfied with your schedule, we would encourage you to leave it as is. Seats are limited at this point, so making changes to your schedule could prove to be very difficult. So we would ask that you consult with your summer advisor, you consult with myself in the AARC, or you consult with your peer advisor. Please just carefully weigh the potential benefits and challenges before you embark on making any adjustments to your schedule. The goal for fall semester is 4 to 4.5 units. Your schedule has to include one first-year seminar, that's the FYS 100, and it must include one section of Well 100, which is the Introduction to College Life Wellness course that you need for graduation. Your remaining units, 3 to 3.5 units, those are completely up to you, and they can be gen eds, they can be major exploratory classes, or just general classes that looked interesting. Today, we are going to walk you through BannerWeb, how to register for classes, how to search for classes. We will show you how to safely add and drop classes. And then we will talk about wait listing, if that's something you would be open to considering, or if that's all that's available to you. I will turn it over to Kristen Ball, and she will actually demonstrate BannerWeb for us. So thank you, Kristen.
Thanks, Andrea, and welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Happy to talk a little bit more about registration and answer any questions that you might have. So to register, you do it through BannerWeb. That's also where you can do a variety of other functions. You can see your schedule and that sort of thing. This is what it looks like when you log into BannerWeb, the screen that you get. You will click on the Student tab, and notice you have a variety of tiles from which to choose. While these aren't all registration related, I did just want to call out a couple. Andrea mentioned the student profile. That is a good place to kind of get a general view of what we have. Your schedule is listed here as long as up in the upper left-hand corner, you have chosen fall 26 as your term. You can also access registration, your schedule, your degree audit, which is Grad Tracker from here, as well as your personal information. If you haven't already done so, please click on the informed consent sometime before classes start. That is a waiver for participating in off-campus activities that needs to be filled out if there's any field trips or anything associated with your classes. And you can also get to Grad Tracker from here. You can also update your personal information if you need to update your pronouns or look at what address we have on file. You can't update your address here. You have to contact my office, but you can see the personal information we have on you. But the meat of today's presentation is about registration, the block down at the bottom of the student screen in Bannerweb. So I'm going to briefly go over a couple of things that are part of registration. One thing you might be interested in is the prepare for registration. This will become more relevant when you are registering this fall for spring classes. But it tells you if you have any holds, if you need to be advised, and things like that. So you'll want to see all green here, and nobody should have any holds at this point, so you should be all green here. But this is a good thing to check before you go to register to make sure nothing will hold you up. Now you can use the breadcrumbs at the top of the screen to get back, or just go back to the main tab. And we also have a plan ahead feature where you can make a plan for registration. We don't recommend that you use that this time around because the planning is usually reserved if you want to put together a whole schedule from which to register when registration starts. And right now you'd be probably picking one, maybe two classes to change. So planning isn't the most efficient way to register, but I did just want to call that out that you can make plans and register from plans with this feature. And again, in fall, when you register for spring, that's going to be helpful. And we will have another webinar closer to spring registration that we will go over the planning in more detail. But for what you need to do right now, if you are considering making any changes to your schedule, you are going to want to first browse classes to see what's available, what you might be interested in, what might have seats, and that sort of thing. And you want to do this ahead of the 9 a.m. Monday, the 10th deadline. So it may have the term pre-populated, but if not, just choose fall of 26 and continue. You can search in a number of ways. If you know what subject, you can just start typing the subject and those options will come up for you. You can enter multiple subjects when you do search by subject. I like to use the advanced search feature for a few reasons. One, you can also search by subject here, but you don't have to have a subject. One of the handy search features is the attribute feature about halfway down the page. So say I'm looking to maybe get a general education requirement out of the way, but I have no idea what departments might have historical inquiry classes. I can just search by the historical inquiry attribute, and that will bring up all the classes across all departments that meet that requirement. All of our general education requirements will have an attribute that starts with AI for area of inquiry, or IF for integrated focus area. So if you're trying to narrow down what you're looking for, look in the AIs or the IFs. So I'm just going to search for historical inquiry class. And if I wanted to limit it to days, I could do that. But I try and leave it as wide open as possible to see all of my options. But I only want to see open sections, so I can click on the open sections only and search. And that brings up all the classes that meet this requirement. You'll see we have art history classes, Africana studies classes, history classes, and classes from a number of departments that meet this requirement. You can also see on the right-hand side what other requirements it might meet, including the integrated focus areas. Several of them meet more than one requirement, so you can see that here as well. A couple of things about the results. You can see how many seats are left, the days and times of the class. And if you click on the title of the class, you can get a little more information, including the course description, which is also available in the catalog, but it's conveniently all in one place here. You can see any restrictions the class might have. Sometimes you'll see that it's restricted to seniors or something like that. You could see that here. And importantly, prerequisites. You'll want to make sure that you have the prerequisites for any class that you are trying to register for. So this class has no prerequisites, but others you'll see a long list of classes, and you will need to have one of the prerequisites on your record at Richmond in order to use it as a prerequisite. If we have AP scores coming, but they're not on your record yet, that won't show as a prerequisite when you go to register. So that's the kind of information you should check ahead of time just to make sure that you're going to be able to register for the class when the time comes. And again, that's just by clicking on the title of the class here. What you'll want to pay attention to for this registration round also are the CRNs. That's the course reference number. And every class has a 5-digit CRN that is specific to that section of the class. And so you'll want to make a list of the CRNs in which you're interested for when we go to register in just a moment. But that's browsing classes. Again, searching by attributes is a good way if you're looking for a specific requirement, but you can also just search by subject. Say you're interested in German, then you can just search by German as a subject and see all the German classes we have. So, okay. But I'm going to go back, and this time I'll use the breadcrumbs at the top. Takes me back to a little different view, but it's the same options that I had when I am on the main student tab. And it is now, I have my list of CRNs that I'm interested in. I know kind of what's out there. It's time to register. So registration opens at 9 a.m. Eastern on the 10th, and things do happen right at 9. So you'll want to, if you want to make changes, be on at that time. Again, you'll pick your term if it's not already pre-populated for you. And when you go here, you'll be able to see a couple of different views of your schedule, the graphic view, the word view, and then there's a few different ways that you can register for classes. If you have your CRNs, you can choose the Enter CRN option and enter those here, and you can add as many CRNs as you want. Again, you're probably going to be looking at registering for 1, maybe 2 classes and changing things around. So you would just enter 1 or 2 blocks here. And then you add them to the summary page, and it will put them down in your registration summary in the lower right-hand corner. I'm going to show you how to register from Find Classes, but the registration part will be the same whether you go from Find Classes or Enter CRNs once we get to the actual submission of registration. So if I'm in Find Classes, again, this looks like the browse classes that we just looked at. You can search by whatever you'd like. I am interested in German, so I'm going to choose German as my subject and search. And this has a little bit more information. It tells me if there's a time conflict with something for which I'm already registered. It would tell me if it was full. You can see how many seats are remaining here. So I know if I have a good chance of getting something. But it looks like I could add this section of German. There's no time conflict. There are 14 of the 16 seats available. So I'm just going to click Add over on the right-hand side and add it to my schedule. Now I'm already in 4 units, and you can only register for up to 4.5 units at this time. You'll be able to go up to 5.5 units on the 17th, but for right now, you can only register for 4.5 units. So in order to get this German class, I'm going to have to drop something else. So I think I will drop my philosophy class. I just go to the drop-down menu and I can click drop. So now I'm pending the German class and I'm dropping the philosophy class. And I'll just click submit and see what happens. So now I can see it deleted my philosophy class and it registered me for the German class. So you'll want to see that green registered block to make sure that you are registered. And it also changed my schedule view on the left-hand side of my screen. So that's just picking a new class and trying to register. I also want to see about maybe changing my FYS. Now, you'll want to be very careful if you decide to change your FYS, as there aren't a lot of openings available and things tend to move quickly during that first part of registration. But I'm going to show you how one would do that. So for the FYSs, you see under status, you get a little bit more information. You can tell when it's full, when it's a time conflict, how many seats are left on the wait list. So this one has 10 of 10 wait list seats left, but is otherwise full. So say I want to register, interested in philosophy and criminal. So I'm going to try to register for it. I see that it says it's full, but maybe, who knows, maybe I think it'll open up or something. I can add that to my schedule, but I want to make sure I don't lose the FYS I'm in if I can't add this class. So I'm going to do a conditional drop add. Conditional drop add is your friend for any dropping and adding. For that, it means that if the program won't drop you from a class unless it's sure it can add you to the class that you're trying to register for. So I'm going to click to drop my FYS. I click the drop. I've got the other FYS is listed as pending. I've clicked my conditional add drop, and then I'm going to submit and see what happens. So I get a couple of warnings. Errors prevented me from registering because the class was closed. And up in the upper right, it also tells me it was unable to make the change. So I stayed in my Finding Focus FYS, and it did not register me for the philosophy. However, I do have the option of putting myself on the wait list for this class. So if I go to the drop down, now wait list is an option. So I'm just going to click that and submit. And now I can see that I'm waitlisted for that class. Um, some classes have wait lists right now that you can add yourself to. Some classes will have wait lists starting on the 17th, and you can add yourself at that point. Some classes don't have wait lists at all, but you will be able to tell all of that information in the status column of the browse classes. So just keep an eye on that to see if it has a wait list, but not all departments use the wait list. So just make note of that. But I'm happy with my schedule right now. It's showing the philosophy and law on my schedule, but that again is still a waitlisted class and not a registered class. And I can tell that by the status in the lower right-hand box here. A note about wait lists is that some of them will start processing immediately on Monday morning, the 10th. Notices go out by email to your richmond.edu address. If you have your richmond.edu forwarded somewhere else, the waitlist message won't forward. So you'll need to make sure that you have your richmond.edu email address active and not forwarded. And you have 12 hours from the time you get the waitlist notification in which to use it. If you get a notification, you'll be able to come back here and choose add from the drop down. If it's your notification, you'll be able to add the class. It does give you 12 hours, and then if you don't take your waitlist spot, it automatically goes on to the next student on the list, and there's not a way to get you back into the class or back onto the waitlist. You would just need to add yourself to the waitlist and hope that you get in that way again. So just be careful when you are doing your waitlist. Keep an eye on your email. Again, it's you have 12 hours to accept. So if you're on a waitlist, be checking your email more often than that to make sure that you can get it. And in the notice that you get in your email, it will tell you the expiration time so you know exactly when that notice will expire. You can be on a maximum of 4 waitlist sections. The system allows you to register you for more, but we will take you off based on a last in, first out kind of situation. So please don't put yourself on more than 4 wait lists when you're going through this process. Yeah. And again, don't drop your FYS unless you absolutely have to, because things will move quickly. Some FYSs only have one section or one seat available, and there might be three people going for that one seat at the same time. So it's a matter of seconds. So just be really careful. And again, conditional drop add is your friend when you are trying to make changes to your schedule. You can only do a one-for-one conditional drop add. You can't like try and drop two classes and add one class with conditional. So just keep that in mind as well. If you're trying to say add a language class, which some of the languages like French and Spanish and Italian are 2 units, you'll need to make room for 2 units in your schedule, but you can't use conditional drop add for both of the two that you need to drop. So just kind of keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that the languages meet many days, sometimes twice a day. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your time slots for your registering for that. And then my other advice is to keep checking back for seats. I know I just got an email this afternoon. We're adding another section of art history to the schedule. So it is possible that more seats or more sections could be added. Don't rely on that, but it is a good idea to keep checking back to see if there are changes. The drop add period for students goes through the second week of class. So there will be changes happening all the way up until that time. Now, note that you can only add classes during the first 5 days of the semester. You can drop through the first 10 days. So really your schedule should be set by the first week of class. Returning students can get on the system starting at 9 a.m. on the 17th. So you have a week without the returning students in the system to make changes. But once they come on, there can be changes to seats and wait lists and things as well. So keep an eye on it and keep checking back if you want to make changes. But again, every first year needs to be in an FYS and a wellness section. So make sure you keep those in mind. There's about one seat in each of the remaining wellness sections. So there's a little bit of room, but not a whole lot. So if you can make the wellness for which you're registered for, please stay in that wellness because you do have to take it in your first semester. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that on the registrar's website, registrar.richmond.edu, we have some banner web tutorial videos and a guide to registration. So if you want to read more or watch more about doing registration, those resources are available on our website. With that, I will turn to Andrea. Is there anything else, Andrea, that I didn't cover that you wanted me to go over, or any questions that we have that we want to take from the Q&A?
I will, before we turn to Q&A, I will just reiterate the importance of clicking that conditional add drop button. That is your insurance policy, that you don't lose a seat in something that's been confirmed and missing out potentially on a class that fills while you weren't looking. It does move quickly at the start of self-registration, and you'll find this when you get to campus and we start thinking about spring classes. It is important to be efficient and thoughtful when you're working in the system. I will also say that a great list of backup classes, CRNs, on a piece of paper, if that works best for you. Give yourself as much information as you can when you're collecting those backup classes. Include the title, include the meeting times, and include that CRN so that at a glance you have some options if your first most preferred course ends up filling before you get to it.
Thank you, Andrea. And I did mean to say too, just as an example, I know not everybody was able to get their first or second choice, especially of FYS, but we did have 837 preference forms. And for the top FYS, 84 people listed as their number one choice. FYSs are capped at 16 students. So that's why you might have ended up with a lower ranked choice with your FYS. But the 16 is a hard cap on FYSs, and we don't do seating capacity overrides for those. So just there were 17 total FYSs that had more than 16 people put those as a first choice. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at FYSs. But there are some that still have seats available. So, um, yeah, but use
Yeah.
conditional drop out.
Keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. What you see right now, what your schedule looks like right now. Like I said before, if you are generally satisfied, give it a try. Go to class the first week. You might be surprised. You might be surprised. So with that, I will open it up to any questions that
I was just going to say to you, Andrea, and you might have said this in other webinars that I haven't been a part of, but not all the classes in your first semester, first year need to meet any kind of requirement. Um, our curriculum is 35 units total. Most classes are 1 unit, so that's 35 classes, other than the language classes and a few others. And about a third of those are gen eds, a third are for your major, and then a third are open electives. So there's plenty of room to explore, and there's no major that you have to start first semester of the first year in order to graduate in 4 years. So there is time to get in your major requirements, your gen eds, and your electives. And things can double count. So there's some classes that meet 2 gen eds and can count towards your major and things like that. So there are ways to get through it in fewer units, but you do take 35 to graduate. Okay, sorry. Questions?
Yeah, a few questions.
Mhm.
What is the process for adding a fifth class since we're currently at 4.5 credit units?
So starting on the 17th, you'll be able to add up to 5.5 units. But for until then, 4.5 units is your maximum. So, and we had some questions throughout the process about music ensembles and registering for music ensembles. Those are generally a half-unit class. So if you're in 4 units now, you can go ahead and add your ensemble during open registration, and that would still fit in your 4.5 unit limit.
Sorry. In Venner Web, what is the difference between registered and web registered?
As long as it says, oh, do you mean on I think they must mean on the student profile
I think so.
here. Yes.
Yeah.
So both web registered and registered you're registered for the class. So either one of those that you see, you are registered, you are in the class, you're on the roster.
it's a mechanics behind the scenes.
Yeah.
If I use the conditional drop add feature as a safety net and want to switch between more than one class, will it work if I put one class to drop, but then try to add 2 additional classes?
No, you need to do one and one. One drop, one add.
Let's see what else we've got here. I know you just previously mentioned this about not needing to have certain classes within like a specific major, but can you just reiterate that again about looking for certain classes for a major and how that impacts first semester or going into looking into what second semester looks like?
Do you want to take that, Andrea, or do you want me to take that one?
Um, well, I think I can take a stab. Um, so because our gen eds, the web of inquiry is really meant to be spread out over the course of all 4 years. So from a general education perspective, we're not expecting anyone to finish that their first year. And our majors also allow for so much flexibility. The average major, correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, is 9 to 10 units. So a third of what you'll do is major related, a third of what you'll do is gen ed related. Sometimes those overlap. And then a third of what you do should be exploratory, but oftentimes could lead to another major or a minor. So there's truly enough time and space to explore the first semester for sure, if not the first year, and still be on track to accomplish your academic goals.
And on the new Spider site, there's information on like good classes to consider as a first class and a major. So if you're interested in looking there, you can kind of see what the options are. I think we do recommend if you are a pre-science person, pre-med, that you try to do either Biology 199 or Chem 141 your first semester, and there are seats in Chem 141 right now. But there are no classes you have to take. And if you're pre-business, there are only 3 classes you have to take by the end of the fall of your sophomore year for the business school. So there's plenty of time to get those in as well.
Can I add a class and also get on the wait list for the same class but a different time, or just one can be added?
No, you can be on a wait list for a class that you're also registered for, or you can be on the wait list for 3 of the same class at a time. Just no more than 4 wait lists.
Okay, sorry. Trying to just see if I can combine certain questions together.
Mhm.
All of the Biology 199 classes are full. If they join a wait list, or should they talk to their advisor before the school starts in terms of possibly getting into one of those sections?
So for Biology 199, they have sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time, but they have an internal wait list. So if you go to Biology 199 and click on, um, let's see,
Yes.
the course description, I clicked on the title and then I clicked on course description. Um, within the course description, this one doesn't do a wait list. I should choose a different one, but it will tell you where to email for information about an overrides. In this section information text, it says here about how to request an override by completing this form. And you can go ahead and do that now.
Thank you.
Mhm.
If I want to add a class to that has a time conflict and plan on dropping the other, um, for example, I want to switch my FYS, so would I be able to switch my FYS and then drop the other class, like the math class, and then be able to go back into the other FYS that I want? So they're trying to drop FYS and also add another section of a math class. What would be the best route to do for that?
I would recommend you do your conditional add for your FYS because you can't have 2 FYS 100s on your schedule at the same time. That would be a conflict. So I would straighten out your first year seminar first, and then tackle math next.
Do you know if they will be adding additional sections of Econ 101?
No, I believe they've added as many as they are adding at this point. There's 17 sections, I think, of 26 each. So, but that will be offered again in the spring.
One of the classes I want to join says the max seats is 0, even though 12 students are enrolled. So it says waitlist. Is that an error?
If the max seats are set at 0, that's usually because it's an endeavor or a special program. I'm not sure which class that is, but it's generally, if it's an endeavor, it would be that way. And so you wouldn't be able to add that.
I'm answering another question just to the person, but I think we've answered the other question. So I'll see if any more come up in the meantime.
I think another good question we've had is considering the conditional add drop if you're trying to register for a 2-unit language course. So you would not be able to use that feature, or you'd only be able to use it for one class, but you'd have to drop an entire class before then. Could you please explain that for everyone?
Yes, so pick one of the classes to drop. And then you just have to drop that class, and then you can go in and do the conditional add drop for the second class that you need to drop and add the language. And again, make sure that you have any overrides you need for the languages. I know I think Spanish, the LAIS 121 and French 121 both require departmental approval. So make sure that you have talked to the department and they have added that approval for you before you try to register, or you will get an error. The other 100
Thank you.
level languages don't have departmental approvals on them. So German, Italian, Japanese, Chinese, Arabic, am I
Russian.
forgetting one? Russian. Thank you.
Arabic.
Yes.
Is there a way to search classes by length? So they're looking for classes that are half units.
Ah, okay. Let's see. Sorry, go back to browse classes. You'd want to go to advanced search and then down the credit hour range, you can do that. So 0 to 0.2, 0.5 to search for those classes. There are not a whole lot of half unit classes. Generally, there's the ensembles, business communication, business software tools. I don't believe there are many, if any, seats in those two business classes, but ensembles are a good bet. But generally, the half units are, say, capstones and majors or seminars or things like that that would not be open to first year students.
Any other good questions?
Is there a limit on override? That they want to have more than, can they have more than one override for a different subject or department?
There's no limit to the number of overrides, just a limit to the number of classes for which you can register. So, yeah.
And that was specifically for Bio 199. And I was a student here. And when it comes to the biology department, that override form, when you say that you want to be put in a biology 199 class, that'll include all of the biology 199 classes. So I don't think you'll need to submit multiple forms. And
Yes.
then I think a really important question here that we started to emphasize is if we are generally satisfied with our schedule, but we didn't get an essential course for our expected major, should we try changing our schedule or wait until the spring term?
I would wait until the spring term, as again, most of the majors you don't need to start, or there's no majors that you have to start first semester, first year. So if you're generally satisfied, stick with that. But also you can talk to your advisor to see if they have other recommendations as well.
Another good question is everything first come, first serve? So if I see a class with one seat available, if someone registers first, that person gets that class.
That is correct. And we sometimes see a difference of 100th of a second of when somebody gets it and the next person gets the seating capacity error. So yes, that's why we recommend the conditional drop out, because that one seat, there might be 4 people trying to get it at the exact same moment. And it's just whichever processes by 100th of a second faster.
And I think Erica's answering this one, but the question is, can you type in the CRN to search for a class during registration? And I think this is something we actually recommend if you know the exact class you want to take so that you can get to it quicker during that registration period.
Right. So when I go to register for classes, enter CRNs is one of the options to register. So if I know my CRNs, I would type them here, add to summary, and then click submit down at the bottom right-hand corner. And always make sure you click submit to be registered. You want the things on your list to be green and not that grayed out pending color.
Will this Zoom be available later to view?
Yes. So we have our new Spider orientation YouTube channel, and this webinar and all of the webinars that we've done all summer will be available. So if you have any other goods and specific questions that have to do with academic advising, we've had representatives from each different college here at the University of Richmond, Arts and Sciences, Jepson, and Business speak on their perspectives as well when it comes to course registrations. So feel free to check those out and to rewatch this one as well.
One more question. Um, what is a unit and how much is a unit hour wise? That's what the question says.
So, one unit is generally, think of it as one class. You're generally in class for 150 minutes, like in seat time, 150 minutes per week. Although we don't tie our units specifically to seat time, like semester hours, but for the definition is for the average good student to do well in a class that is one unit, they should be spending 10 to 14 hours per week, both in and out of that class, in order to do well. So that's the general expectation. So that's why we say, four units is good because that's 42. Now I'm doing math in public. 56 um, hours per week for those 4 units would be the general expectation, both in and out of class.
Keeping in mind that you're also going to Well 100. So while there aren't any units associated with it, you are going to class for up to an hour and 15 minutes, potentially once a week. So there is also that responsibility on your schedule, in addition to eating, sleeping, and socializing.
And for more math in public, like I said, it does take 35 units to graduate from the university. So that means doing 5 semesters of 4 units and 3 semesters of 5 units. So don't feel like you're behind if you are doing 4 unit semesters, because for 5 of your semesters, that's what you need to do.
And Andrea, you just mentioned this, but a question came in asking, what does Well 100 look like? So could you speak just a little bit more on that, please?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Well 100 is really an extension of orientation. We know that your first week at Richmond, first half week during orientation, we are going to share a lot of good information with you, and we want to make sure that you hear that information and that we spend some time taking a deeper dive into some important topics. A lot of resources are shared in Well 100. We talk about just general well-being topics, how to take practice good mental health and good physical health. And we spend some time talking about registration for the spring. So you will get a refresher of this sort of information in Well 100. So it's a broad class, but all very good, important information is shared. There is or should not be much homework expected of you. Your job in Well 100 is to show up to class regularly and participate. It's a great place to meet other first-year students. It's a great place to get to know your instructor, who will be a staff member from around campus. It's probably one of the better things that we do at Richmond.
If I run into other problems or questions after this meeting, is there someone I can email?
Yes, you can email advising@richmond.edu. That'll go to my office. Your summer advisor might also be able to help. Your peer advisor is an expert in Banner Web. Though they can't see your screen, they can certainly share their tips with you or explain how to get in and around Banner Web.
And you can also feel free to email my office about Banner Web. Andrea's office is the one to ask advising questions. But for Banner Web, if you have questions about that, you can also email us at registrar@richmond.edu.
Okay, any other good questions before we move on to wrapping up? Okay. So, kind of a recap and some important reminders that we wanted to leave you with. Please always use the conditional add drop feature when making changes. It will really save you some heartache. We don't recommend that you change your FYS again because seats are so limited. If you want to put yourself on some wait lists, please feel free to do that. But we don't recommend making a lot of changes on the 10th. Please do set an alarm if you intend to go into Banner Web. Set your alarm. Don't miss the 9 a.m. start time. Maybe log in a little bit early. Get as far into Banner Web as you possibly can. You will get to the registration screen. If you have not already signed the financial agreement electronically, that might hold you up. So in Prepare for Registration, you can do that today if you'd like. But don't miss that 9 a.m. start time. And I will say, if things don't work out as you expected at 9 a.m. on the 10th, know that you will have access to the registration system all the way through to that second week of class, as Kristen mentioned, to drop. So things are going to shift, things are going to settle in this week, the week of the 10th for sure. We're going to see some changes. It'll look a little different starting on the 17th when our continuing students get into Banner Web to make their changes. So what we see at 9 a.m. or 9:05 on August 10th isn't necessarily what we're going to end up with on the first day of classes. So please don't panic. We will help you work through whatever issues may arise. Again, you can put yourself on 4 different wait lists. I would absolutely make a long list of CRNs for courses that would be acceptable when making changes. And then if you have any questions, please do feel free to contact your summer advisor, or if they're not available, contact me at advising@richmond.edu or Kristen's office, registrar@richmond.edu. I think
Awesome.
that's it.
Thank you so much to our academic advising and registrar's offices for joining us today. I'm just going to share some resources super quick as we close out. So here you can find some QR codes to resources that will be important moving forward as we prepare to welcome all of you to campus. So you can go ahead and look at our New Spider orientation website where the orientation schedule is posted along with other resources that will help you with move-in. You can look at our New Spider lookbook, which has information about residence life and housing, orientation schedule, our orientation team made up of current University of Richmond students, and our weeks of welcome events that occur throughout the first 6 weeks of class as well. And then also, as we mentioned before, you can find all of our webinars, including this one, on our New Spider YouTube channel. And finally, if you'd like to follow us on Instagram, you can stay up to date with everything going on New Spider related. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for your time. And again, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to Andrea Vest or Kristen Ball at the advising@richmond.edu and then registrar@richmond.edu. Thank you again, everyone. I hope you all have a great rest of the day.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.